Why do we hate someone? Why do we hate someone for no reason? Jesus tells us to love our enemies. But how can we love someone we hate? It is a very difficult problem. However, to live in this world, we must examine this problem and move on. Then why do we hate someone? What is the reason? You may be surprised, but the reason lies in ego. Hatred is a phenomenon that occurs when one thinks of oneself as the center. Ego have many desires and am self-centered. Therefore, you hope that people such as family, friends, coworkers, and relatives will treat you well. If a friend treats others well, but neglects you, the ego in your heart becomes resentful of that friend. We want it to be done a certain way, but he doesn't do it the way we want. Then we end up hating that person. All the reasons we hate someone are like this. Hatred is a phenomenon that occurs because people think in a self-centered way. It's never because of others. This world is ever-changing. We cannot control the world. The world is largely outside of our control. Yet, we hope that the world will go our way. This is especially true when it comes to people. However, people change depending on the situation. It never works out the way we want it to. Because of this, our expectations are often dashed. That expectation, the desire of the ego, is the cause of hating the other person. Ultimately, the cause of hatred lies within me. So why do we dislike somebody for no reason? That's because you don't know the reason. There must be some reason there too. If there is someone in your company whom you dislike for no reason, think carefully about the reason. Does he greet you well? Does he care about you? Does he buy you lunch sometimes? Does he ask you to have a drink with him? It will never be like that. You will hate them because they say little to you, are blunt and unkind, or do very little to please you. It's not that you don't like them for no reason. Think about it carefully. It is most likely because it goes against the image you want. That image is also nothing more than a shadow of the ego in your mind. In the end, the reason he dislikes you is because of the ego within you. To love your enemy, you must know the ego. So how can we love someone who we hate so much, even our enemies? Is that possible? Can we love the enemies who killed our parents? Jesus said this, "Love your enemies. Forgive until 70 times 7. Is that possible? It is almost impossible for us to love our enemies. It is not something that can be tolerated unconditionally. To endure is to temporarily deceive yourself. And it does not mean that the resentment will ever go away. Since tolerating means suppressing, the resentment goes deep into the unconscious and hides away. Since it does not disappear, it is always seeking an opportunity to explode. Then, when it can no longer be tolerated, it explodes. Otherwise, it becomes a physical illness or mental illness. Therefore, it is not something that can be achieved simply by enduring it. That way you can never love your enemy. So what should we do? We must understand the ego within ourselves. Since the ego is a collection of experiences accumulated during our growth, harboring various latent desires, it is the past that surfaces as memories in our minds. These thoughts evolve into desires. As the image of your lover's face crosses your mind, you suddenly want to see your lover as a computer game comes to mind. You suddenly want to play the game, and as memories of fishing come to mind, you suddenly want to go fishing. Ego has gravitation. It attracts what was stored in the memory to maintain itself. That is desire. We often have high expectations of our family, relatives, friends, and coworkers. When these expectations are not met, we tend to blame the other person. If your friend gave gifts to other children on their birthdays, but didn't give you any gifts on your birthday, you might feel hurt. Your friend might have been short on money or faced other circumstances. If you think about the cause carefully, it is ultimately because of yourself. The one with expectations is the one who caused it. The only truth about the world is as it is. Anything else is just your delusion. My friend did not give me a gift. That is the truth as it is. There is no problem with that fact in itself. However, there is only I-ego who is dissatisfied with that fact. Life love, our essence, does not expect anything. It's just empty energy. It just overflows. It is I-ego that is blocking it. Therefore, when we feel hatred towards a friend, we must immediately contemplate our hearts, understand where that hatred comes from, and endure it. Then, as soon as the feeling of hatred subsides, the mind regains its original calm. And something strange happens. You never hate a friend. This is because you blame yourself for the hatred. If you take responsibility for your heart-touch, you will no longer hate the other person. It's possible because it's a minor issue, but if it's your enemy who killed your parents, how can you blame it on yourself? You will have this question. Of course. So in this case, can you love the other person? This universe is so dense that nothing happens by chance. That is why this universe can be eternal. Earthquakes occur because the earth is struggling to maintain balance and harmony, not because it wants to harm people. In Laozi's Tao Te Ching, there is a famous saying, "Net of the sky is not tight, but nothing escapes." From an individual's perspective, the death of one's parents at the hands of enemies is completely incomprehensible. But from a universal perspective, it happened because it was necessary. Because life is omnipotent, it sometimes commits evil against humans for its evolution through individuals. While it may be very unfortunate for the murderer, the universe as a whole regains harmony and balance through such incidents. If the parents have committed similar evils in the past, you can either teach them a lesson by putting them in that situation again, or the child can correct the mistakes in his character by going through the process of losing his parents. It may be that we learn some kind of lesson. If we understand the invisible laws and functions of nature in the universe, we can understand most of the events and accidents that have taken place in human history. No, if you understand the omnipotence of life, love and the meaning of life, you can understand everything. That world is beyond human logic. Moreover, if we know the nature of life and understand the nature of our bodies, we can escape almost all pain. If we knew that our essence, life energy, does not die, and that our body is merely an illusion without substance, made up of the 5 elements, we would not feel so much fear of death. Even if the parent's body dies, the life energy that is the essence of the parent does not die. The reason we suffer is because we recognize our parents' bodies as entities and are obsessed with them. That body never existed before. It happened as I grew up. As we lived with our parents, we came to believe that our parents' body was reality, and I became obsessed with it. It has become established as a strong attachment to the I-ego in our hearts. Our obsession with our parents is also caused by growing up. If someone else's parents died, we wouldn't hate the killer that much. Where is the difference? That's because they are my parents. This is due to the relationship of ownership and attachment deeply engraved in the ego. It is not real. It developed as we grew up. This illusion is what makes us angry. Our life love accepts everything that happens in this world. This is because the event is a phenomenon that occurs for the entire life of nature in this universe, to move toward harmony and balance. Because our lives are omniscient and omnipotent, we can understand everything. However, the I-ego is blocking it. If we understand this reality, we will be capable of loving even our parents' enemies.